Microsoft Excel, Blue Box, Chapter 1, Blue Box 2. In the previous video, you learned how to navigate between or among worksheets. In this video, you're going to learn how to navigate around a single worksheet from one cell to the next. Remember that a Microsoft Excel workbook contains many worksheets, and when we're working on a worksheet, you can think of it as just one large table. Each cell in the table is given an address. The address is given to that cell by what column it is in and what row it's in. So for example, right now, I could work in the cell L26. How did I know that? The cell L26 has been activated. If you look at column L, it's a little lighter, and number 26 is a little lighter as well. Plus, so that's at the very top of the screen, and the very left of the screen, you can see the L for column L, and then on the left-hand side, the numbers running down to 26 shows you that I am in row 26. You can also notice that you are in L26 because the name box, this is the box right above the worksheet, oftentimes will tell you what cell you're located in and which cell is actually activated. That's the terminology that we'll use, where it's the active cell, and when we activate a cell, we're making it active. So another issue that we might want to discuss is how we can see the various tools available for us in Microsoft Excel. So what you just saw collapsing there and then showing again is what's known as the ribbon. The ribbon contains a series of tools, and they are first grouped by tabs. So this is the Home tab. If I click on Insert, I get a different set of tools. If I click on Draw, I'll get another. Will collapse, but normally if I just click one time, it'll move me from one tab to the other. You'll also notice within a tab that there seems to be some organization, how a group of tools are collected together. Each collection is referred to as a group. By default, in Windows, those group names are shown at the bottom of each group. In the Macintosh, I would need to go up to the top of the screen so I can get the menu bar, where we normally see the Apple and the application name, in this case, Excel. I'm going to click on Excel, and I'm going to go to Preferences. As I click on Preferences, there'll be a series of choices for me. One of them at the very top is under Authoring is View. At the very bottom, I can click on In Ribbon Show Group Titles. And when I show the group titles, then when I close the preferences, you'll notice now I can see across the Home tab what the group names are. So for example, later on, I'm going to change one of the active cells so that it shows the text in that cell is bold. You'll hear me say on the ribbon, so you know I'm at the top of the screen. I will then tell you which tab I would be on, Home, and then I'll tell you what group. In the font group, we can hit the big. Now, a lot of this you probably already know, or perhaps you didn't know the official names, but that'll help so that we have one common set of language to use when trying to describe what it is that we're doing. Back to navigating around the Excel sheet. So you'll notice, again, I was in L26, and there's a variety of ways in which I can navigate using the arrow keys, for example, allows me to move one cell over in the direction that I'm pushing. So if I push up, I go up one row. If I push to the left, I go to the left one column. That's one way we can navigate. Another way we can navigate is I could use in the editing group here, if I click on the down arrow next to it and then the down arrow next to Find and Select, you'll notice one of the choices is Go To. I have to be honest, I never use Go To. If I plug in a 1, for example, then I will go to A1. And that's a quick way to navigate there. But you'll also notice that in the name box, the cell now again shows what location I have activated. So if, for example, I'm over here in K3, another way I could get to A1 is just type A1 and hit enter. You can also use the mouse to navigate, and you activate a cell by clicking on it. A shortcut for those who like to use keyboards, as you saw my active cell jump back to A1, is if I hold the function key down, that is the FN key in the bottom left-hand corner of most MacBooks, the control key, which is usually next to it, and the left arrow. That will take me all the way up to the upper left-hand corner of the worksheet and get me to A1. All these are a variety of ways in which we can navigate, and there's all sorts of other ways to navigate as well. When I hold the Shift key, not only do I activate the cell that if I hold the Shift key and use an arrow, for example, to the right, not only will I activate B1, but I'm also selecting or remaining have the selection of A1. So I can select a group of cells by holding down the Shift key and using the arrow. So I've used the arrow twice to select A1, B1, C1. If I push down, now I'm going to have A1 all the way through to C2. Notice the way in which I describe that, A1 to C2. So I'm giving you the upper left-hand corner of that selection and the bottom right-hand corner. And oftentimes in Excel, we'll use a colon to separate that. So when you see it in writing, A1 colon C2 would be the way in which I would describe this group of cells that I have now highlighted. In the assignment, you're asked to type in a few of the boxes so that you can get the necessary text in there. So I'm going to navigate to C5. See if you can navigate to C5 in one of the ways in which we just described. Once I've activated that cell, I can begin editing it by simply typing. In general, if I begin typing, it's going to erase anything that's in that cell, or it'll allow me to add something to a blank cell. So I'm going to type in capital NM space, capital S for suppliers, and then I'm going to hit the Enter key or Return key. Either way, you can think of it on a MacBook. When you do that, you'll notice that the active cell is now C6. It was C5, it's now C6. So it moves down exactly one cell beneath where we were. I'm going to navigate over to D5. This time for D5, I'm going to type Southwest Bros. So capital S in Southwest, space, capital B for Bros, and I'm going to put a period. This time, I'm going to hold the Shift key. And when I hold the Shift key and hit Return, you will notice that the active cell is now higher. If, on the other hand, I had typed Southwest, notice how it erases what I had. And if I ever make a mistake, before I hit Return at all, if I hit Escape, it'll bring me back to what I had. But if I wanted to retype Southwest space Bros period, and this time I'm going to hold the Command key down and hit Enter. Notice when I hold the Command key down and hit Enter, what that's actually going to allow me to do is keep the active cell active. So I didn't move down, I didn't move up, I stayed exactly where I was. I'll show you another way in which we can move out of the editing part of the active cell, as if we've hit Enter or finished and we want the contents to be what we typed in there, and navigate in a different way. At this point, I'm going to use the name box to go to F11. The textbook asks you to use go to, as we did before, but as you can see, going to the name box is actually a little more efficient. Here they want you to make this 5 bold. Okay? There's a variety of ways in which to do the same thing in Excel oftentimes. So for example, if you like keyboard shortcuts, then you will find that Control B will make that bold. This is a toggle, which means if I hit Control B again, it turns the bold off. It reverses whatever the active cell currently has. Notice that I've not gone into an editing mode, but rather I've just activated the cell and I've hit bold. That'll ensure that everything in that cell is bold. The book will tell you for this part of the assignment that you should come up to, and I'm going to use the official terminology here, up to the ribbon, make sure you're on the Home tab, which we already are, go to the font group and click on the B. All right. We can navigate over to A11, and when we go to A11, then we're going to type in the text product quality. We're going to capitalize the P in product, P-R-O-D-U-C-T, and space capital Q in quality. I mentioned we can use Control Enter. We can just hit or return. We can use Command Enter, but we can also use the Tab key. The Tab key will move me to the right one cell. So that's an alternative way in which we can navigate out of an editing mode and activate the next cell, or keep the same cell activated, where the next cell could be one to the right when you hit Tab, and the next cell, if we are moving, you would just simply hit the return key and it would have moved us down to A12. So this shows you various ways to navigate within the worksheet, but it also has us have the opportunity to see the various ways we can do things. One of the other things that I will suggest when working in this class using these videos is, if you're going to submit this grade or project, that you make sure before you move to the next video that you have done all of the tasks that it's asked. So I'll remind you of what we actually did, that if I were turning the assignment in at this point, what the assignment would look for. 1, I clicked on C5 and typed capital M, N, capital M, space, capital S in the word suppliers. The next, and while you may have difficulty seeing that in the active cell right now, we'll take care of that later. What you will also note is when I look in the formula bar, notice when I come up to this box and hover, it'll show you that its name is the formula bar. That's its official name. That'll show you what is actually typed into the cell. Sometimes what's displayed is different than what you've typed in. So for example, if I wanted to add 2 plus 3 together, there's a way in which I can write 2 plus 3, and I would see that particular way written in the formula bar. However, I would see the answer 5 in the cell. So when it's text, these two things will match up. When it's something else, a formula or a function, we may see a deviation between what's in the formula bar and what we can actually see on the worksheet. The next thing we did was we typed in Southwest Bros, capital S in Southwest, capital B in Bros, and there was a period at the end. We turned F11 bold, so that 5 is bold, and I typed the word product quality in A11. By taking a quick review of the video at the end of the video and taking a look at what the worksheet looks like, it's going to allow you to make sure that you are current with the assignment. That way, we don't have any cascading problems later on. If you forgot to do something and later on, that mistake means everything else afterwards might also potentially be at risk of a mistake. But by looking and making sure that you've done everything you were supposed to at this point, it ensures that those kinds of problems won't exist.